the Start Your Own Business podcast. Hear inspiring startup stories and get reliable expert advice on how to start your business and get off to the best possible start. Brought to you by Startup Donut, helping small businesses succeed.
Hello, I'm Chloe Thomas, your host, and in this episode we'll be looking at how peer group support from other business owners can help you and your business. Our guest expert today is award-winning business coach, mentor and advisor Jonathan O'Shea. Jonathan runs the Alternative Board in Bristol, part of a global community that has more than 40 business advisory peer boards throughout the UK. Each peer board brings together small groups of small business owners who share their insights with each other, leaving them better equipped to deal with business challenges and ultimately become more profitable while helping business owners to feel less isolated. So in this episode, we're going to be getting into how you can gain from peer group support. We will be chatting with Jonathan about just what peer group support is, how you can find a group that supports you and that's going to be a good fit for you, the sort of problems you might bring to it, and the ways in which it could help you grow your business. Now, before we meet our guest, do find out about the show sponsors, Dell Technologies, and how their technology solutions could help your business to become more productive, efficient, secure, and successful.
This series of the Start Your Own Business podcast is brought to you by Startup Donut in association with Dell Technologies.
Did you know you can get even more out of Startup Donut with new exclusive benefits from Dell Technologies? Dell for Startups provides key solutions to help set up your startup for success, including exclusive member pricing and a dedicated technology advisor who will get to know the needs and goals of your business. Advisors will deliver customized, scalable solutions for rapid tech enablement with top business class PCs and accessories. Join now for valuable resources that will help your business get growing. Visit dell.com/UK startups to join today. It's time to meet our startup expert, Jonathan O'Shea. Hello, Jonathan.
Chloe, hello. Thanks for having me on.
It's brilliant to have you here talking about such an important topic. And I think it's one of those topics that many business owners don't know even exists, which I think is one of the brilliant reasons for us to be talking about it in this startup space. So what, in your experience, are, I guess, the dangers of not having peer support when you're running your own business?
Yeah, well, I was really interested to hear a podcast in Series 3 where you had Mark Howard from Aston Business School talking. And his plea was, all businesses, get them talking to other businesses. And absolutely, that's at the heart of the value you get from peer boards. It's just that opportunity to get out of your own little world bubble that you might get absorbed into, as we all do, and get to speak to some other business owners, some other business leaders, and learn from them.
There is definitely that getting the head out of this, not the sand quite, but getting the head into a different thought space. And it's because it can be quite lonely and isolating at the beginning of a startup journey, can't it? So that connection's all important.
Yeah, a lot of people who start their own business, they've probably come from a bigger, even if it's not corporate, they'll have come from a bigger organization where every day they're around other people that they can ask advice from, or they can just chat to socially over the water cooler or whatever. And suddenly you end up in your bedroom or a spare room and you're on your own, you run this business. And it's really lonely. It really is lonely. So any way that I think a business owner can get out of that environment and mix with other people.
And of course, whilst you can talk with your spouse, your partner, your friends, your family and that sort of thing, then they don't have the same insight as someone else who's running a business, even if it's a totally different business. There's less of a connection on a lot of these topics, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, having the support of family and friends when you're starting a business is wonderful. And they'll probably be a real boon if things are getting a bit stressful. But unless they've actually started their own business themselves, they won't really get some of the hassle you're going through. Or maybe they're not, much as they'd like to pretend otherwise, they're not as interested in whatever your work is that they might be. So having people who are from a bit removed from outside of your family, from outside of your friend network, who do understand what's involved in starting your own business and being able to chat to them can be really, really. And also, it gives your family a rest as well, doesn't it?
It does indeed. An opportunity to talk endlessly about your business without annoying the family. And it is both that kind of that support network as well as the practical help piece. So what does, in your experience, what does a peer group support thing actually mean? Because it's a bit more than just business networking, isn't it? It's kind of a level above.
Yeah, I mean, some people will have really wide definitions of peer support, and you could even stretch it a bit and argue in some ways that podcasts like this are a form of peer support. When you're listening to other businesses, you sometimes feature other businesses, don't you, in their story. That's a form of peer support because you're learning from other people's experiences. Networking to a degree, you'll get some of that. You're right, you'll get some of that. But actually, if you join a peer support group or mastermind group, as they're quite often called, what you will get then is a more consistent, regular opportunity to speak to other business owners, to get their thoughts, their advice, to get their support. And it's that, I think it's that consistency and regularity that can make an enormous difference.
And it's, for me, when I've done them, it's the key difference for me from networking is when I'm networking, I've always got sales in the back of my head and I'm trying to put on the right front for the sales. Whereas in a proper peer support group, you're not going into the room to make any sales. You're going in the room, not entirely to bare your soul, but to be honest, to share your problems, to help other people with their problems. And it's usually a consistent group of people from one meeting to the next, isn't it?
Yeah. And for me, that element is really important because whenever you try to get together a group and you want them to work really well as a peer support group, they need to absolutely trust each other. They need to feel comfortable in each other's world. So now and then I might be meeting somebody who's looking to join a group like that. And just by nature, they're great at sales. They get up in the morning, they start selling. You can't tell. And actually, you do have to have that conversation and say, look, when you're in this environment, it is not about selling your business. It's about supporting other people with their business. Because when people see you supporting them in what they do, they'll support you back. If they think you're selling to them, they kind of feel you're not there for totally different reasons. So getting that balance is really.
And there's all kinds of peer support groups and mastermind groups around the country. I guess you want to find one that's fairly local to you because you don't want to spend 2 days getting there and 2 days getting back. But what would be your tips for someone who's thinking, I could do with one of these? Do they set it up themselves or do they go to the local Chamber of Commerce or do they Google it? How would you go about finding one?
Yeah, I mean, Googling is always a good start in this day and age, isn't it? Asking for recommendations of different groups can be really helpful as well. There are so many different ones out there. It's wonderful. There's such a selection now because it can fit every size of business and every pocket. From the free of charge masterminding setups to maybe some serious ones for larger businesses. But I think the important thing is to find one that suits what you're trying to go through. I always say to people, if you really want to get value from a peer board, then the most important thing is to have diversity in the room. Because if you have a diversity in the room, you'll get different perspectives and different insights. So, I always say to people, if you're looking for a good peer board, I suggest you look for sort of 4 elements of diversity if you can. One is the different sectors. So, there are non-competing sectors because you'll talk about your business a bit more openly if there isn't a competitor in the room. The next is just about size of business because we can all learn from the different stages that businesses are at. The third is just getting a mix of men and women in the room just makes the whole meeting go so much better. And then it's about backgrounds. So getting people from different backgrounds, different influences, because that again affects how they view things, how they question, how they approach things. You get that mix, it works really well. But there are also some mastermind or peer support groups who are sector specific. And some people like that because they just want to talk about how to really hone in on their particular sector. But if you're looking to get a real diversity of approach and perspective, then the non-competing structure, I think.
Yeah, and they're usually face-to-face. You're in the room, you're fully present, you're focusing in on what the group are saying and what they want help with in the questions and so forth. But we also see people will find, especially when they're Googling the word mastermind, they'll find plenty of virtual groups, Facebook groups, forums, that sort of thing. Those, in my experience, tend to be more in the industry-specific ones. Like I know there's a lot on podcasting and there's a lot in e-commerce, which are very, very specific in the Facebook group space. If you got So I guess there's no reason why you couldn't have a virtual one and a real world one to fulfill different needs.
Yeah. And of course, lockdown made virtual boards really, really popular. And it was interesting because probably before lockdown, I would have said, oh, no, never. You need to be in the room. But then it works remarkably well. And so I think it can still work. But I think it's quite interesting. The boards that I work with were really keen to get back in person as soon as possible because you just get to know each other better. When you're meeting the same people every month, you become friends. You get to know each other's business. And as with anything, it's the chat when you're walking down to get a coffee in the middle of the meeting or something where you have the really interesting little side discussions that just make it all feel a little bit better. So I think it is absolutely possible for online stuff to work. I think you probably kind of get 90% of the value rather than 100%, if that makes sense. You just get that a little bit more in person.
Yeah, I guess it's, as with everything, it's finding the right technical, physical solution for the challenges you're dealing with. And when you're going deep into business problems, there is, in my experience as well, there's nothing like being around the table from the people who are helping you and having that close bond of trust with them too. We've kind of been talking in the abstract about how this can help people. You've been in many of these sessions, Jonathan, without destroying the confidence of the people in the room, because we don't want you to do that, definitely not. But what sort of business challenges do you see coming up? There's some examples to help the audience get into their heads how this could help them that you could share.
Yeah, but and I guess the first thing I'd say is, quite often it might be a personal challenge as well as a business challenge, because for business owners, finding that dividing line between your work life and your personal life can be really tricky. And a group of people who are struggling to get that balance right will really get that issue. So, I find quite a lot of times people will come with topics around getting their personal balance and work balance right. So that's really popular. For small businesses, probably one of the most powerful topics that people can bring is when they're trying to think about getting their first employee, because it's a big jump. You've probably used contractors and, been able to get support in that way, but you get to a point where actually you need somebody who's devoted to your business. And that can seem the most enormous leap. Even if in a past life you're in a big company and manage those people, but it's your money, it's your business, it's what you start, that's a big leap. And in that situation, having a board of people some of whom will have done it already and done it from the perspective of actually getting that heart in the mouth moment before you make that decision, and be able to point out some of the mistakes they made or the mistakes they narrowly avoided and get them the path to that point much, much smoother is really helpful. Because a lot of these things, we're technically capable of doing them. It's just having the confidence to take the plunge and hearing other people who have done it and who can just say, you'll be fine. Just do this, you'll be fine. That helps enormously. And then, of course, one of the really common topics that will come up is about sales growth. So, they've maybe got their business to a certain level and that's fine, but then they've plateaued or they don't know what to do different to make that next step, and they may be starting to think about marketing, in a more detailed way than they've done before. Being able to sit down with a group of people and say, just don't know how to grow my business from here. What should I do next? And hear how they've gone about it. If you sit in a room and you hear 5 different people explain how they grew their business, well, doesn't that really give you some pause for thought, some different options that you can work with? So those sort of give you maybe a sense of the breadth of different things you can come up against in a period.
So basically, guys, anything and everything you are challenged within your business, you can bring to the table. And as I said, I've been in groups like this in the past, and I've often found one of the best things about them, as you were just outlining, Jonathan, is the layman's advice that saves you thousands of pounds, because you then either know what to go to the experts to ask, so you haven't paid the expert to help you work out your question, or you get the right recommendation to go to. I remember once I had to dismiss a member of staff, and I was going to go to my lawyers and ask for their help. And my mastermind group went, no, Chloe, you need an HR consultant. Yeah. They're 10% of the price and they'll handhold you through the whole thing. And that saved me a small fortune and made the whole process so much more approachable, which it's that layman's advice that it's really hard to find in any way other than talking to other business owners. So I love that side of it.
Yeah, and you remind me of a great example. One of the businesses in one of my boards, they were having real struggles with SEO, promoting their online sales, and we just seemed to be getting nowhere. And and they were really at a point of despair about what to do. And one of the other board members who'd been doing sales in this way as well said, look, I've come across this person. They're really, really good. Just give them a try. And they got in touch. For the next month, they said, this has just transformed my business. And what's lovely is that it hasn't been done with a great big invoice to follow. So psychologically, it's been done to support you. And I think you receive information in a different way when it's given like that.
Definitely. And there's that element of you're in the room with this person, say once a month for a day, a month or something. And so they know about your business. They know about you and the sort of solutions you like. So it's a more qualified recommendation as well from that perspective.
Definitely.
And what do you find? So you mentioned earlier you've had to advise some people to drop the selling to make the most out of their peer group involvement. What other approaches, I suppose, are the key to getting the most out of one of these groups?
I think you have to enjoy listening, because you'll probably spend a big proportion of the meeting listening and learning, but you will be listening. You have to enjoy sharing your knowledge and being willing to learn from other people. You have to be willing to be open, because actually, if you try and pretend everything's wonderful and, I'm fine, the business is going perfectly, well, people will soon sort it out just by the look on your face. But also, you're just not getting the most out of it. It's like using a machine on half speed. You're just not getting everything that you could out of that. So coming in with that open mindset, that willingness to help others really makes a big difference. And I think also it is about taking it seriously. So, we try and make sure around board meetings and everybody will try and make it a bit of fun as well, because if it's just deadpan serious all the time, you wouldn't get any enjoyment out of it. But it's knowing that there are times that you just need to be focused. You're asking questions of that business owner to try and understand their problem, and actually giving it some serious thought and attention benefits them. But also, so many people, I find, actually, it's when they're asking questions on other people's topics, they suddenly go, oh gosh, right, I should have thought about that myself. And that light bulb moment quite often happens when we're thinking about other people's topics, engaged in other people's topics. So if you approach it in the right way, the benefits will come from lots of different directions.
I'm so glad you said that, because my experience, at least half the benefit I got out of being in groups has been helping other people, and both the reflecting it back on myself to realize what I could be doing better, but also just gosh, I actually know quite a lot. That kind of reiteration of your own abilities is it is crucial to being a successful business person. Jonathan, any final words of advice? What have we not mentioned for new business owners and small business owners that they should know about when it comes to peer group support?
Yeah, I think the main thing is to realize the range of options that are out there. So have a think about what you're wanting to get out of the peer group. What do you want to achieve from your engagement with it? Because that could well impact on the type of board you join. I know there are some boards out there that are absolutely specifically for people who've newly started their business. They've never run a business before. So within that, there'll be some of the business basics about, maybe accounting or finance or marketing or anything like that. That it kind of becomes a bit of a tutorial as well as learning. There'll be other people who are maybe have progressed a little bit more, or even if it's their new business, their past life means they've got a higher level or a deeper level of knowledge. So they'll want a different type of group. You touched earlier on about meeting in person. That only works with local businesses. So if you are the type of business that actually works geographically on a bigger scale, then maybe worth looking for online processes of getting involved in peer boards, because you'll get to meet a better representative group of people to help you. But overall, I think it's just get out there, see what's around, and then see if you can guest at one of them. Just try and go along as a guest and see how the process works. And then you'll know if it's right for you, and also they'll know if you're right for them.
That's a brilliant piece of advice. The first one you join or you think about joining doesn't have to be the right one. You're allowed to try it out. Jonathan, that's been brilliant talking to you about all of this. Before we say goodbye, could you please let the listeners know how they can find you and your peer group on the web, please?
Yeah, sure. So you can find the Alternative Board at the usual www.thealternativeboard.co.uk, and that will give you, wherever you are in the country, that'll give you access to peer boards that might be near you and help you. If you've got any questions about peer boards or there's things I've touched on that people would like to find out a little bit more about, then you can get in touch with me via Joshea, Joshea at thealternativeboard.co.uk. And I'm very happy to signpost you to, other options that might work in your circumstance. But, I just encourage anybody who is starting their own business, don't sit in your room on your own. Get out there and meet people, whether it's the Alternative Board or it's anybody else. Just get out there and get involved with peer boards, because you just gain so much for you and for your business.
Yeah, get out there and get out of your own head and go and get some help from other business people and help them too. Jonathan, thank you so much for being such a great guest. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Thank you.
What an excellent guest, shining a light on an area which, in my opinion, not enough small business owners and startups know about. I have to say, being part of what I would call mastermind groups or peer support groups was instrumental in me building my businesses, and hugely important. I think the key points from this are, first off, as Jonathan ended with, don't do your business alone. Go and get that support from other people who've maybe been there, done that, who've starting other businesses in different sectors. Go and give yourself that time out of the business to help others and to discuss your problems and get that help, because you will find it invaluable. Secondly, there are loads of different options for this. Virtual ones, face-to-face ones, Facebook groups. It really all depends on what you're looking for and what sort of help you're after. You may find you're in a couple of different ones in the end, but you could even create your own. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. There are lots and lots of different options out there for you. And don't be afraid to try them before you commit. So it might take a little bit of time to find the right option for you. And finally, once you're in a mastermind group, make sure you put as much effort into identifying the problems you want help with as you do into helping the others, because believe me, you will get as much benefit out of helping the others as you do getting helped yourself. We covered a lot of ground in this episode, so to help you, you can find the summary notes for this episode and links to more free resources by visiting startupdonut.co.uk/podcast, and that's donut spelt DONUT. Now, this series exists to help you complete key tasks and negotiate challenges when setting up and growing your new business. So next up, we'll be exploring the startup journey of a business who've been there and done it. Yes, it's going to be one of our listeners' favourite episodes, a real-life startup story. Your chance to learn from a business founder who survived their startup years and who's going to be sharing everything they learned along the way. If you're enjoying the series, picking up valuable tips, please spread the word to others you know who are setting up a business or thinking about it. Be sure to sign up to the Donut Weekly newsletter for free. That's going to bring you startup news, advice and special offers to help your new business succeed. And you can find that at www.startupdonut.co.uk/newsletters. And thank you to Dell Technologies for making this whole series possible. And don't forget to join the Dell for Startups programme for more exclusive benefits and valuable resources. Details coming up.
Did you know you can get even more out of Startup Donut with new exclusive benefits from Dell Technologies? Dell for Startups provides key solutions to help set up your startup for success, including exclusive member pricing and a dedicated technology advisor who will get to know the needs and goals of your business. Advisors will deliver customized, scalable solutions for rapid tech enablement with top business class PCs and accessories. Join now for valuable resources that will help your business get growing. Visit Dell.com/UK startups to join today.